bravely, both tender and fierce. Women of indomitable will, words of Amit Turney, which best describes my guest tonight. Good evening, Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to Women on Wheels here on Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. My name is Taiwo Barua. Before we get down to business, let's tell you that the roads are looking free tonight. Okay, so it's a public holiday, and so it is not unexpected that these roads will be free. So please keep it within the speed limit and ensure your headlamps are working, even as you navigate in and around Lagos Metropolis tonight. Look out for other road users, look out for pedestrians. We've been given a report of good movement in and around the Metropolis with no record of breakdown. But if that isn't the case for you, feel free to share your experience with us just by sending a text to our WhatsApp platform. Women on Wheels is brought to you by Courtesy Toyota Nigeria Limited, the sole distributor of that automobile brand in this part of the world. My guest on the show tonight is a bi-media broadcaster, a role she exceptionally embodied since the inception of Lagos Television as an announcer and news reader. Even as she doubles as a studio manager at Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, that's FRCN, she broke into the media space at the age of 17, navigating the murky waters of broadcasting for 35 years, paving the way for those of us here today. My guest is a veteran broadcaster with over 35 years of experience. Tonight on Women on Wheels, we shall continue from where we paused last week on our telephone conversation. Of course, you will be. I'm sure you're wondering right now, okay, so what is Taiwo up to tonight? Okay, so my guest is very much with me in the house tonight, and I am certainly not going to let the cat out of the bag yet. From the start to the end of her active service year, she actually continued to pioneer various media houses under the Lagos State Radio Services, where she rose to become the permanent secretary. That's a Lagos State Radio Service before her voluntary retirement at the age of 52. For the sake of those who didn't get to listen to the show last week, let me just help you a bit. My guest tonight on the show is a veteran broadcaster that a lot of you actually listened to in the early days, early years. I mean, whichever way you want to describe it, of Lagos Television and of course Radio Lagos. Like I said earlier, she actually paved the way for some of us in the industry right now. And then I have with me on the show tonight, your guess is as good as mine. I have Tinuade Aino Badijo on the show tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, Taiwo.
How are you today?
I'm great.
Why are we sounding? Are we microphone shy now?
Well, each time you call me my name in full, I have the fear that I'm standing before my mom.
I am sorry. Just now, you heard me when I called Opeyemi. I mean, every other person would call Ope here, but I go Opeyemi. You know, I call people by their. I don't know why I am like that.
It's okay.
All right, then. So let's get down to business. We started this conversation last week as to how this journey started for you as a broadcaster. A couple of things you mentioned already. But then let's look at broadcasting as a profession, what it used to be, what it is now, and the future of broadcasting, given the technological advancement, the likes of artificial intelligence and the likes. What are your thoughts?
Well, I would say that broadcasting has been made easier with technology. People can get information at the tip of their fingers. There was no use of computer that much then at that time. You had to physically study and find out information about any topic that you are treating. And I remember then we had something that was called Reader's Digest. That is a book that you get a lot of things, a lot of information at whatever topic you are treating, you are looking into. And you have encyclopedia that is there as well that you can get information from. But now, with the touch of the button on the internet, you can get all the information you want. And as you said, AI is there to assist you. So it's life made easier for the younger generation. But I begin to wonder, yes, it's easier, but then at that time you were able to task your brain. You are able to research. You're not depending on machine. You're not depending on internet to do anything. You really went deep down. And when you study then, it stays longer with you because you did your research.
Absolutely.
A lot of things you also get to know along the line as you are investigating whatever topic that you are treating. But now you find out that it's a given. You just assume that it's there. Once you go online, you get the information. You feel so, separated from the information. You are not. You don't feel. You don't feel that you have done anything that much because it's so easy. It's so easy to get. Whatever it is you labor for stays longer with you. Whatever it is you worked for, whatever it is you researched for, it stays longer in your memory because of the effort that you put in to get it done. But then the argument might come up that you've saved time with the generation right now.
Yes.
A lot of time has been saved. You can always go back and punch the machine is there, so that is it.
But then let's look at it this way. I was listening to the news, or I was surfing the internet a couple of days ago, and then I figured out that with education system now, a lot of courses are being abolished. And should we panic over a course like mass communication being abolished? Because I saw something online about a media house being AI powered. Should we panic?
I don't think we should, because I know there's a country in Europe that is going back. Is it Sweden or which country? Said it's going back to the basics. Using tablet in classrooms. Students are no longer allowed to bring books. You don't need You don't need a biro. You don't need a pencil. All you needed was a tablet. All you needed was to have a computer there, and you get the information. They said children are getting disentangled from their teachers. There is no personal touch in learning or teaching anymore. It's so formal, it's so cold, it's so, the human element is out of it. And I know that the country Ministry of Education of that country is deliberately going back to the basics and saying, we're going back to the way it used to be. We don't want children that are so distant, they're so, there's no emotion attached to it at all, because they felt that, the machine is there, you can depend on the machine. You are totally separating them from the emotional aspect of learning. Teachers are getting lazier as well, There's no connection with the students. And I don't think machine or AI could be a threat to broadcasting. People will always need information, and the personal aspect will always come in. Yes, you can use AI, you can get across to different continents, but then when you're looking at broadcasting, you are in your immediate environment, you are dealing with the culture, you are dealing with the tradition, you are dealing with the people of that environment that is not so general. You can do, your signals can go all over the world. People can get it. But then, you that is presenting, you are dealing with your immediate environment. I guess that is why you are given a bandwidth to play with, a radio station, NBC gives you the band that you are going to be operating from, you are limited to certain specific space, the distance that your signal can travel.
Sure.
And if you go beyond that, the land, the space that you have been given, you might probably be penalized because of that. I remember that in the days when we were operating, you always get the rod of the NBC when you go beyond, the radius that has been given the station to operate. So you see, when you're within that radius, you're looking at the totality of that environment, the people, the culture, the tradition of that people. You incorporate into the information you are giving out. The same information you give in Nigeria, there might be a different way of presenting it in UK, in America, in Russia, in Asia, and so on, because you are looking at the demography of the place that you are passing the information. So that's why I said AI might not really take over. The human aspect of it still has to come in. That has to come in, that you cannot, digress yourself from. You cannot say, we can divorce ourselves from all these things. Then why are you a broadcaster at the end of the day? People want to feel, they want to feel intimate with information. They feel personal. It is personal to them.
Sure.
This information you are given, it is given to me because I'm a Nigerian. It is given to me in Lagos State because I belong to Lagos State. It has to incorporate something to do with my ethnicity in Lagos State. That's why you find out that Radio Lagos at the inception, you found out that the purpose then was that you'd be able to reach the different ethnic groups in Lagos State. Not just English. Radio Nigeria could do English for everybody. I think all we were doing in Radio Nigeria then was Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, and English. And then you find out that there are over 200 other ethnic groups that are all over. Who is taking care of them? That was when they were able to break down to state radio stations then came up, where Radio Lagos came up at there and then. And then you find out that in Lagos State, even some in Lagos State didn't know much about the Ogu people from Badagry. They didn't know about the Aworis from Badagry. There was no special interest in the Jebus. It is just the same single Lagos Yoruba that, people knew about. Until suddenly all these other languages and ethnicity came into play. And people got to know, and you find the joke on the streets of Lagos, Jack on the door. That was when we started reading English in Ogu language on Radio Lagos, that kind of thing.
All right, Lagos, I am sure you're wondering who is taking us to the classroom tonight. If you're just joining the show, this is Women on Wheels. My guest is none other than Tinuade Aino Badejo, the former permanent secretary, Lagos State Radio Service, and she's very much with me in the studio tonight. If we're to go on with her career and the broadcasting, we're never going to end this conversation. So let's now look at the women-oriented concerns. This is Women on Wheels, and the show is expected to address the issues concerning women. Let's look at some of the challenges women encounter in broadcasting. As a broadcaster, we know across board that HR in the first place, if you want to hire someone in the media house, considering the nature of the job, there's a particular word we use for it now. It's a kind of service you render that takes more of your time than you can actually give to your family. How was it like for you, being a mother, a wife, and a thoroughbred broadcaster?
It has always been an issue that you have to work your way around, One thing is you grow, and there are different stages in life that you grow. You grow from a young girl. Just in my own case, I started at the age of 17, and then it came to a point that you mature into a woman, and then your status also changes as well. You get married, and then you start having children. As you grow, you needed to find a way to be able to work around, the development in your life. How can you incorporate your career into it without sacrificing any, You will not sacrifice his career. You will not sacrifice your family at the end of the day. I think the key is to be married to someone who understands what the career is all about, your career is all about, who needs to be patient enough to accept and then to work out, find a balance in making sure that the family worked, So I was lucky because I married a media person as well, although not a broadcaster. He's an engineer.
Okay.
And he was somebody who knows about, the crazy hours that we're working in broadcasting then. And we were able to balance, and make it work. But there are times when you find, some clashes in timing and so on.
Sure.
There was an instance when I think it was my last child, and they had just started there used to be a daycare center that Lagos State government opened, where you have ShopRite Now.
Okay.
And I remember I came to work and I took my baby, the only girl I have.
Okay.
I took her to the daycare center, and I got engrossed in work. My husband was also at work, and we totally forgot that there was a child at the daycare center. And by the time we came out, we both assumed that the other person had gone to pick up the child, whereas he was equally busy as well, at his own duty post. So by the time we got there, it was past 7, going to 8 o'clock.
And you weren't fined?
Yes. The daycare had closed at 5 o'clock. And we were there. And at that time, it wasn't the time of this mobile phone that you could easily call anybody and tell them what was going on. And we got there panting. And we saw the nanny. She was crying.
Oh, wow.
The baby was crying.
Wow.
Both of them it was a pathetic situation that I felt like flogging myself at the end of the day.
Okay.
Eventually, we were able to pick up the child past 8 o'clock at night, past bedtime for the child. And everybody was just crying, because it was such a sorry state that, how did we get to this? How did we, but then it's one-off. It's not something that happens so often. But then it was one of those things, one of the experiences that you still remember that, so this happened. This was one of the prices you had to pay, for your career.
Still in this same line of thought, I once heard someone once told me that, you want to be a broadcaster. I hope you know that most of them do not stay married. There is this misconception about broadcasters, entertainers, getting all sucked in their job, in their career, and they just throw caution into the wind. What's your take on this?
If we have to start counting to the glory of God, I think this is about my 36th or 38th years in marriage. I got married in 1988.
Wow.
And to the glory of God, I think I'm still married to the same person.
Thank God.
The last time I checked, it's still the same person. So it depends on you. It's an individual thing. As I said earlier at the beginning, you are not going to sacrifice one for the other. If you're conscious of the fact that this is what I want a career, I want a home as well, because if I didn't fight for that home to remain standing, where would I be today at the end? And I'm empty nester now. My last child is over 30 years old. And so if I didn't fight to keep that home going, where would I be right now today? I'll be, all alone in an apartment. You might have a mansion and so on.
Sure.
But there's nobody there with you. But then, so you really needed to balance both. Be considerate of the other person. There are sacrifices you have to make. Some things you have to do without that others are doing. Maybe you don't become a party raider. You're not always there, hopping from one party to the other at the expense of your home and your marriage, So those are the things that you have to consider. It must be a conscious decision you make that this must work.
What?
There has been a label that broadcasters never stay married long, or they never marry, or they never stay long in the marriage. The marriage will scatter. You need to tell yourself, mine is going to be an exception. And I just thank God. It's not that I was so perfect or anything. I think I had mercy. God showed me mercy and made it work for me.
Thank God for mercy. Thank God. So what do you make of women getting to the peak of your career and then get intoxicated by power?
That's the same thing as well. If you're not conscious of who you are, if you're not humble enough to know that power is transient, you can have it today, it can be taken away from you. Today, yes, while I was working, I was up there at the top of the career. I had everything at the snap of my finger. You had about 3 or 4 official cars, you had drivers, you had this, you had that. But you have to know that there comes a time when all this will be taken away and you are back to the basics. You are back to who you are. You might not be able to cope at that time because you have a false, image of yourself or who you are. That when you now lose that office that had propped you up, that gave you that influence or whatever it is, you find out that some people might not be able to cope. You begin to have some mental issues that will come in. People, you feel, why is this happening to me? Why, and then at all costs you want to do everything to remain there. Do anything, you begin to bend to some rules, you begin to bow to some powers and so on because you want to remain there. There comes a time, some people are coming behind you that are growing into that office that will take over. It's not a permanent thing. Power, as I said, is transient. That comes a time when it's either because you've reached the age where you should statutorily have to leave the office, or because age is also telling on you as well that, you cannot hold it together again, either because physically or emotionally or, whatever it is. But then the mental aspect of it, that is up to you. Are you still able to, service your mentality? Are you still able to put to practice what we are doing together? Because that's another thing. The moment you retire from an office and you feel that all is gone, there are 2 sides to it. Either you have a false notion of who you are, you believe that you are still there, or you find something else to do that is relevant to what you were doing before, so that you are totally not alienated from what you had been used to. So it might not be in the same dose, the frequency you are doing it before might not be the same that you're doing, because right now, even up till now, I still read news on radio. I still read news twice a week. I remember, 2 or 3 CEOs down the line when I left, and they came to my house and said, okay, would you still come back and read news for us at least once or twice a week? Keep it up so that the younger ones can learn from you. I said, okay, why not? But they said, choose your time. I said, thank you for that.
Definitely.
If you didn't I must put that condition. I must choose my time so that when it is convenient for me, and then I chose the time. And I remember the GM that invited me left, and then the other one came, and I just sat in my house. I said, the person that invited me has gone. The next one came to my house. I said, excuse me, ma, you can't stop. You are going to, it will not be during my time that you are going to stop now. You have to come again. I said,
my God.
Okay, here I was again. And then the one that is there, I stopped again when they appointed another GM.
Yeah.
And then that one also said, you can't stop. Why should it be during my time that you are saying you are stopping?
Stop.
I said, I have fun doing it. That is it.
All right, then. Moving on now, do you think women in this part of the world, Nigeria is a patriarchal society, whether we agree or not. Yes, things are fast changing from where we're coming from and where we are today. The clamor for gender equality, gender inclusion, and all of that, especially in Lagos, we're seeing the rapid change. But then as women ourselves, aside the other gender now trying to accommodate us, I will use the word accommodate us, Are we doing enough to develop ourselves in a minute?
If you're using Lagos, I'll say yes. If that is the yardstick you're using, I'll say yes, because more than any other state, you have more women in positions of authority and holding down positions as chief executive officers, particularly in the service. You have over 50% of women as permanent secretaries in Lagos State. So, and then you find out that there's the issue of that is personal to the woman herself. An average individual person, are you seeing yourself as a victim? Are you playing the victim card here, you know, to cover your own inadequacy? Because you find out some women, once they have tried every other thing and it's not working, they bring out the gender card and begin to, you know, oh, they didn't allow me because I'm a woman. I don't think Lagos, you know, Lagos has given enough room for women, opportunity for women to thrive, to be whatever they want to be. But the moment you begin to play the gender card on your own, it's so you know, it will not work in Lagos.
This gender card brings me to my next question. Why do we always have the women wing to each association out there? I mean, you would hear, the Police Wives Association. You would hear the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NAWJ. You would hear women this. You would hardly hear the men wing. Are we intimidated?
I think at a point in time they felt that they were not well represented in those unions, those associations and so on. They said they felt that there was no equal representation, that they needed to have a voice. So they had to present a platform whereby the issues of women will be treated. But now, gradually, as we're having development, you find out that by itself, these things will begin to whittle out, you know, because when they find out that there's really not much difference, you know, in having the women wing and the men wing, because more women, as I said, are taking over. They are coming in, they are rising. So there's no need for you to have different section for different gender. Are you saying that a female engineer is inferior to
a male engineer? Let's begin to take this home, Tinuade Aino Badejo. What would be your advice to women out there, even as we continue to drive the gender balance thing out there?
I think you should believe in yourself. I think everyone should have the can-do attitude. I can do it. If the men can do it, why can I not do it? Why should anybody, you know, pull me down and tell me because I'm a weaker vessel, so to speak, I can't do it? There is that expectation in society. She will soon get tired now. You know, before you know it, you should start shedding tears. You know, no. If you were able to tell yourself, if the man can do it, I can do it also. We both went to school. We both have the same training. Why can I not do it?
All right, then we'll leave it at that. I must say a very big thank you to you for coming on the show. You have been listening to the voice of Tinuade Aino Badejo, a veteran broadcaster. And of course, let me say maximum thanks to Opeyemi Shodunke, who has handled the social media for us this evening. I'm afraid we're running out of time already. Thank you so much for coming on the program. This program has been brought to you by Toyota Nigeria Limited. It has been produced by Ajose Oluwale, Idowadeyemi, Fumilade Akingbagbo. Maximum thanks to Victor Terry. Our executive producer is Tayo Akonle. I remain Taiwo Barua. The program makes a return next week, Tuesday at 7:30. Join us again.
Thank you, Taiwo, for having me.
Thank you.
In a city that never sleeps, in traffic that never slumber.